Alright, so we're going to use some hardwood here. Quite honestly, I don't know what kind of wood it is, but it was in the backyard with the firewood. So we're going to basically just try to saw off. You can see I've done some here. About no more than an inch thick. Saw off a few pieces. You can even use a hammer and a chisel if you want. So we get some splinters and some chunks, and go ahead and throw those on your charcoal fire later. Alright, so we're going to be smoking cheese today. We have a block over here. It's about 1.5 inches by 2 inches, and then 6 inches long. We got our chimney here with our coals going to start the fire. We got a bucket of ice water here in a aluminum baking pan. Threw some basically a whole tray of ice in, filled it up with water, and threw a good handful of salt in there to keep the temperature down. And what I actually did is that we're going to put this modified baking tray between the fire and the cheese to make sure not much of the heat escapes directly to the cheese, but rather goes up and gets cooled by that bucket of ice over there. And finally, we have our chunks of wood that we're going to use for our smoke. So once we get our fire going here, we'll throw the cheese on, throw the wood on, and see what we get. Alright, so we piled our charcoal up, threw all the wood on there. It's probably too much wood, to be honest, but we'll see that gets smoking a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and open this vent over here just a little bit, get some fresh air in. Make sure our chimney's closed and wait for that smoke to start going. And actually it looks like it's going pretty well, so we're going to go ahead and put our smoke shield up just like that. So I cut it just so it's underneath that top grate there, which is where we're going to put our bucket of ice. We're going to put that actually not over the fire but over the cheese to make sure none of that hot air comes down and makes too much contact with the cheese, otherwise we get a big glob. And we're going to be using just regular white cheddar cheese here, and we'll throw it on in a minute. Okay, so we got our smoke going here, we got our shield up, that ice water on top, and our cheese. We're going to go ahead and close that and give it about an hour, and we'll come back and see how we're doing. Alright, so one thing I want to say real quick now that we have the cheese in there is just to reiterate that we want to keep the temperature really below 90 degrees Fahrenheit, ideally between 60 and 90, because otherwise obviously you're going to get a lot of melted cheese in your grates. And you can see here our thermometer there is below 75. It's about as low as it ever goes, so that's good. You can see we got a ton of smoke pouring out here, so that's good. All things are set right now, and hopefully we'll check back in about half an hour, 45. Alright, so we're about 20 minutes or so into the process. It looks like our temp is a little above 100 degrees, which is obviously not ideal, but it's also important to keep in mind in a grill like this, the temperature is being taken from right inside the lid at the location of the thermometer. So between the heat shield, which is funneling hot air up, and the tray of ice right here, you can actually feel I can put my hand here basically as long as I want, and this gets hot after the other side gets hot to my hand after a few seconds. So that's something important to keep in mind. And also there's so much smoke and everything coming out of this grill that you got to keep in mind that anything you leave near the grill for a while, including yourself and your clothing, is going to smell like smoke. And I recommend these cocoa nibs, which are absolutely phenomenal. And yeah, I know I drink vitamin water, so sorry about that, but just something to keep in mind about the smoke and the temperatures. Alright, so it's been about 45 minutes or so. You see our temperature still right about 110 maybe. What we're going to do now is going to open this up real quick. You can see a lot of smoke. You see our cheese is taking on a pretty kind of burnt orange color, dark yellow. There's our smoked water. What we're going to do here is take some of these briquettes or pieces of wood, and just flip them over, and that'll give us some fresh smoke flavor on the cheese. Otherwise they're gonna kind of burn out and you won't get as intense a smoke flavor, which some people you may want, but at which point, or if you do, I would say or recommend you take your cheese out after about 45 minutes. But we're going to go for a more intense flavor. And also keep in mind when you open and close the lid, especially on a grill like this, since that top grate is on a hinge, when you close your grate, make sure, or close your grill lid rather, make sure you do it slowly so not to spill that ice water. We're going to let this burn down a little bit. See, there's not really much smoke coming off there, it's just heat, so we're going to let that go for a little bit and flip the cheese. So what I did, actually, we weren't getting a lot of smoke, so I threw just another splinter of wood on there. We can see a little thicker smoke coming off that fire. So we're going to go ahead and close this now that the fire's died down, and give it another 20 minutes or so. You see we flip the cheese here, and we'll see what happens in another 20 minutes or so. Alright, so it's been about an hour and a half actually now. We're at about 100 degrees still, and as you can see there's not a lot of smoke pouring out the sides. Still some, but not as much as before. So we're going to go ahead and open the lid and see what's happened. Alright, so you can see for the most part all the wood and charcoal's expired. We have a nice kind of golden, remember this is white cheddar before, so we have this nice golden crust on the outside of our cheese. Okay, you can really see it on the ends. You can see perspiration a little bit, some oil and some water there. So what we're gonna do is grab a paper towel and lift it off the grill carefully. Okay, and just kind of pat it down with that paper towel. Flip it over, get the ends. And there you go. So there's our smoked cheese. We'll bring that inside and let it sit for maybe an hour or so. Let it get back to room temperature. You can feel it's probably a little warm. Get back to room temperature. Throw it in either some plastic wrap or a Ziploc bag, and I would say let it sit for at least a day, and up to, you'll probably get more flavor up to a week or a week and a half. And that's our smoked cheese, so enjoy.